To Module 2, Lesson 2, Topic 1. Now, just like I talked about in the introduction, we're going to cover 2 topics per this lesson, and they're all going to have to do with the rules of engagement, the rules of reconciliation and restoration, and what you can do prior to, during, and after. So I hope you have your workbook with you. I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're writing down personal thoughts and ideas and anything else that comes to mind. So this first point that I want to make is that relations trump all. They just do. The one you are in conflict with is not your enemy. He or she is your equal. They are made in the image of Jesus Christ. They are made in the image of God. God does not have partiality or favorites. The enemy of your soul is your true enemy. And as a believer, it is he who desires to divide, kill, steal, and destroy Christian relationships. So remember, a difference of convictions, a difference of preferences or principles are not the cause of the conflict. Broken people are bound, blinded, and embittered by the enemy of his or her soul. That number one enemy is limited to a personality, emotional, or intellectual conflict. That number one enemy is Satan himself and all of his demonic host. And I want to repeat this because it's so important. That number one enemy is not omniscient. He doesn't know everything. He's not everywhere. He's not omnipresent. And he's not all powerful. He is limited. He is limited to one person, to a personality, and he is limited to emotional and intellectual conflict. So it is also a spiritual conflict with a very active and visible party. That party is, like I said, Satan and his demonic host. Resolving this should motivate us with empathy, with humility, to intentionally seek and protect, to recover and restore relationships the way God intended. Now, let me get this made very clearly. I'm not absolving any individual from his or her personal choice to align as an ally or engage and cooperate in Satan's schemes, lies, and strategies. There is for certain a personal responsibility that we are held to before God and to others. We are accountable for our actions, our reactions, our words, our attitudes. And so it is for this purpose alone that we need to say, the buck stops with me. The buck stops with you right here today. Our second key point in topic 1 is that conflict resolution is a selfless seeking process. The objective is to respond to the divine invitation that God is allowing with a grateful heart, with grace, and with generosity. Just like any other important date, meeting, or appointment, you want to make this a priority in your day. So resolving conflict is not about getting what you want. It's about being present. It's about giving up your rights and even position and bringing your absolute best for the sake of thinking more highly of another person as commanded in Scripture. Because being a peacemaker is the mark of a child of God in Matthew 5:8. It's so important to check your heart first. So here's some bullet points as to how you can begin doing that right now. Ask yourself this question: am I part of the problem or am I part of the solution? We talked about that in the introduction. Either way, you are being given an opportunity to become part of the whole process of seeking peace, reconciliation, and restoration. And either way, you're responsible to do it. Secondly, understand the position of the person you are in conflict with. Know that that person may be an authority to whom you need to submit, obey, and honor according to his or her ordained position as God. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in part 3 of the design, purpose, and function. But for now, if this person is an authority, there needs to be an honor a blessing, a submission, an obedience that you must have as an undercurrent before you go into this um, effort to resolve and reconcile any conflict. And so you who are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, but you're also to honor that position. It's what God does in order to protect us and to bring order into our lives. Another point is to ask yourself, is this person a weaker brother or sister, or a Christian at all? We are told to have a spirit of meekness, a spirit that's under God's control in our attitude, in our words. So the answers to these questions call for a different approach accordingly to what they are. If he or she is a Christian, keep it in accordance with Matthew 18, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. When planning a time to meet in person or via phone, we need to make sure we clear our calendar. It is the priority of our day. And so in clearing our calendar, we want to make it a priority and make adequate time for all three steps. One, your time of reflection, evaluation, and personal inventory. You want to follow the 2 to 24 hour rule, depending on the depth of the problem and how many people are involved, and we'll talk about that in just another second. But you want to make sure you give enough time for prayer and to seek God's perspective on this whole situation. Also, you want to give a priority for consideration on your meeting place. You want to make sure that it's appropriate, that you have appropriate surroundings, ensuring respect and security. Don't do it in some public place where there could be shame or an uncomfortableness or a lack of ability to share honestly. And you don't want to do it like on your turf and in a room isolated with just you and feeling that power play. You want to make sure that both parties are comfortable and respected in the surrounding area that you choose. Your resolution and reconciliation is also really, really important to think about. How long are you going to need, depending on the number of people involved, or how many offenses or how serious the offenses are. In this particular study, in part 2 of the S.A.N.D Pearls, we're just going to be addressing the power of forgiveness in a one-on-one approach. Part 4, which is not a part of this, talks about playing nice in the sandbox. I encourage you to get that workbook. It is a great proven strategy when seeking family, community, church, and corporate conflict resolution with principles and guidelines that work every time. So let me get back to this, because we're told in Scripture, and perhaps you're familiar with this verse, do not let the sun go down on your wrath, giving place to the devil. Don't let the other person have the sun go down on their wrath and allow them to give place to the devil either. Do not partake in offerings or communion until this is resolved to the best of your ability. It's very important that you honor the Lord from your heart and not just with your lip service or with your tithes or offerings. You want to come together and really seek reconciliation, bringing your best self to the meeting. I pray, bless, and encourage you to do the same and to get the proper rest you need. Because if you come into a conflict resolution meeting and you haven't prayed and you haven't begun blessing and you haven't had the adequate rest, you may not be bringing your best self. So don't forget to keep those as a priority as well. Write your notes down. I hope it helps. Keep journaling. Let me know how I can help you, and I'll see you in topic 2.